Good evening. My name is Kim Batty, and I am the Public Relations Officer for Visalia Unified School District, and I will be moderating this evening's Q&A regarding mask mandates in schools. Before we begin, I'd like to ask our panel members to go ahead and introduce themselves and tell us about your role here with Visalia Unified School District. I'm going to begin with Mr. Cardoza.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Doug Cardoza. I'm the interim superintendent for Visalia Unified School District, and I'll be working with this team to answer some of your questions.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening. My name is Eric Kerr. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at the district, and I oversee the Custodial and Grounds Department, maintenance, transportation, nutritional services, and facilities.
Good evening, Kim. My name is Kevin Mays, and I am the Safety and Environmental Coordinator in Human Resources. And what I do is ensure that our workplace is free of hazards, environmental concerns, to support our staff and students in any way possible.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Walkwick, and I am the Health Services Coordinator for Visalia Unified, and I oversee all of our nursing staff.
Great. Thank you, panelists. We have divided tonight's questions into categories, and each of our panel members will be read the questions, and then they will be addressing the answers from their respective categories. So I just want to thank our parents and our viewers tonight for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for this Q&A. So I'm going to begin the questions on the topic of the mask mandate, and I'll be directing these questions to Mr. Cardoza. So Mr. Cardoza, we had a parent ask, it says, since California is lifting the mask mandates for children in schools, but has left it in the hands of the school districts, will VUSD allow our children to stop wearing masks as of 3/12/22?
Thank you, Kim. Yes, we definitely will. So on the 14th, when kids come back to school, it will be an optional. We will have students that will want to wear masks or families that will want their students wearing masks, but it will be an option that they can wear them or not.
Okay, so the next question you kind of covered here, but so kids can choose to continue wearing their masks. And further on that, will you encourage staff to support these students that choose to continue to wear their masks?
Yes, absolutely. So we know that there could be some challenges with kids wearing or not wearing masks, but we will work with staff, students, and families to ensure that kids are comfortable, those that choose to wear their masks. And those that choose not to wear their masks, we want to make sure we continue to have a great, safe environment for all students.
Thank you. So again, my next question, and again, I'm just sharing what we've got from our parents. So masks will continue to be masks will be optional indoors.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Another parent asked, am I still able to send my child to school with a mask, and will he or she, or will they still have the option to wear one?
Again, absolutely. They will have the option to continue to wear a mask if that's what the child or the parents choose for that student.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Cardoza. So my next question. So if the mask mandate ends on March 11th, does that mean the COVID protocols are ending as well?
So we all know that COVID is not gone. So we still have folks getting sick. There are risks out there. It's been very reduced, but we will continue to provide all the systems, the protocols, the air filtration, sanitizing of our classrooms, promoting kids washing their hands, having testing available for students. And some of our team will talk more about what we will continue to have in place.
Great. Thank you so much. My next question is, will kids that do not want to wear a mask have to be separated from the ones that do want to wear a mask? This is referring to the classroom or on the play yard.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Students will be in their regular classroom setting just like any other time. So they will not be separated.
Thank you. The next question, will the mask mandate end for the certificated and the classified employees on the same day?
Yes, so at this point, there will be no indoor masking required for students or staff as of March 12th.
All right, thank you. Next question, what is going to happen if after the mask mandate is lifted and the COVID cases start to rise again in schools? Will schools shut down and start distance learning again?
So we hope that doesn't happen. We will collaborate and follow the guidelines of our healthcare professionals, the CDPH, Cal OSHA, Artillery County Health and Human Services. We will follow their recommendations and mandates. You know, if the numbers rise, that we will look to the professionals to help us make decisions on what the next steps will be to keep our kids safe.
Great. That's a great answer. Thank you, Mr. Cardoza. Now we have a parent that wants to know, will the masks be required on the school buses?
So currently they are required on our school buses. So we will be enforcing that as we pick up students to deliver them to school. We are expecting some type of an update to that guidance, but currently they are still required on school buses.
Okay. So next question I have for you, Mr. Cardoza, what are the consequences for a child who's harassed by another child for choosing to wear a mask?
So we will work with each child in each situation individually. You know, we take harassment, bullying very seriously, and we will take appropriate actions to protect students and stop these types of behaviors if they occur.
All right, thank you. And next question, how will we handle students and staff who are autoimmune compromised or higher risk for COVID if masks are optional?
Again, we will continue to work with the students and staff to provide them accommodations based on their individual needs. This is something we've done outside of COVID time. So anytime we have a staff member that has a health issue or something that we need to work to give accommodations, we will work with our HR team to provide those accommodations.
Very good, thank you. My next question, will the unvaccinated be required to wear a mask?
No, they will not.
Thank you. I know we've had a lot of these questions like this, but we want to make sure that everyone gets their answers. Next question, will students that have been vaccinated have to wear a mask? How will the school be able to verify who is vaccinated?
So again, there will no longer be, at this point, a mask mandate once we hit that day back on the 14th. So it will not be required for anyone to wear a mask within schools at that time.
Whether they're vaccinated or not vaccinated?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cardoza. Could you please explain what kind of conditions would we need to mandate masks again within our school district?
So if conditions change, infection rates go up, impacting our students and our ability to keep schools open, then we'll collaborate, like I said before, with our healthcare professionals, with the CDPH, Cal OSHA, Tulare County Health and Human Services, and look at their recommendation. And if there are mandates that need to be put in place to keep our kids and staff safe, that's what we will do.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question is, does this apply to parents, the no mask option when they go to visit schools?
Yes. So at this point, again, there are no indoor or outdoor mask mandates. We will follow our regular protocols for volunteers who come on campus. We have a process and procedure they go through to be cleared as a volunteer for any of our school sites.
Okay, great. Thank you. A preschool parent wants to know, preschool parents whose child cannot yet receive the vaccine, can I send my child to school with a mask?
So absolutely. Again, it's all optional for our kids to wear masks. So yes, they can.
Okay, great. And then our last question on the mask mandates, Mr. Cardoza, will the mask mandate for band be dropped? If so, does that mean students will not need to be tested before concerts?
So there'll be no need at this point. Students at this point with no indoor masking will be rehearsing with their colleagues. So it doesn't make sense that we would have testing before a concert. So we will not be requiring that at this point.
Very good. Okay, that's all I have for your section for right now, but I do have some questions for Tiffany. These are in regards to social distancing. So will the social distancing requirement still be in effect, or will it be in effect?
Actually, for this year, social distancing has not been in effect at all this year. So we will not be reintroducing social distancing at this time.
Thank you, Tiffany. And then I'm going to move on to testing, and I know we have I'd like for you to answer some questions that I have in regards to testing.
Okay.
So will the testing requirement for our staffs, for staff, sports, et cetera, also end?
There are currently no testing requirements for students as our indoor sports have all ended and there were no other requirements. It was recommended that students in band, choir, and drama get tested if masks were not worn during practice and performances. But at this time, that because they will no longer be wearing a mask at all indoors, that testing requirement, it's not in place.
Right. Very good. And you did say that students do not have to be tested, but on this question that I have here, they're asking, are students going to be required to be tested even though They do not have symptoms.
No, not at this time. We're not doing any mass screening testing of students at school. It is recommended to get tested if you have symptoms or after potential exposure to someone with COVID-19.
Oh, very good, very good. The next question I have is, will the COVID cottages that it's available on our 4 comprehensive high schools, will they still be available to students to test?
Absolutely. We have no plans to close those at this time. They will still be open and available to any student that needs access to testing services.
Okay, so they are providing those testing for our students through the COVID cottages, correct?
Yes, they are available.
All right, thank you. Okay, next question. Although VUSD has been following CDPH guidance, is there a guidance from the Tulare County Health Department that also supports the expiration of the mask mandate for our local conditions?
While the mask mandate is expiring, CDPH states that masking is still highly recommended, but it is just no longer required. It is up to students and their families to assess their risk level and what they are comfortable with. Students may still wear a mask if they choose to do so, and we recommend it, but ultimately it is now your choice.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Tiffany. The next area of questions I have to do with notifications. One parent wants to know, will you be alerting us about the COVID exposures?
Yes, notifications will still continue.
Okay, very good. And then will staff also be notified of these conditions? Of
Yes,
exposures?
I believe HR is also continuing with those notifications. While we have had cases decrease dramatically between staff and students, there are still a few cases being reported regularly.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on now to talking about our cleaning protocols. And Eric, I'm going to be directing some questions to you. Is VUSD going to increase the sanitation procedures at school sites?
Thank you, Kim. Our current cleaning and sanitation procedures that we've had for the majority of the pandemic will continue uninterrupted.
Very good, very good. And then the next question, with the end of the mask mandate, will the classrooms continue to be fogged each night?
Yes, so we will continue to do the fogging as is part of our current cleaning and sanitation process. They will be cleaned and sanitized each night, and that will continue for the foreseeable future.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the next section I want to direct questions to you, Eric, is regarding PPE. So will hand sanitizers and masks continue to be readily available for those who want them?
Yes, masks will continue to be available for all students and staff that request them. Hand sanitizer will also continue to be provided to all locations. And Visalia Unified is also continuing the practice of encouraging frequent hand washing for all students and staff.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Tiffany, I have another question for you. So this has to do with school nurses.
Okay.
How will the nurse know who to quarantine when kids are allowed to play at recess without a mask?
Actually, for most of this school year, we have not been quarantining for any outside exposure, as CDPH has recommended that contact tracing outdoor activities was not necessary because of low transmission rates. So we will continue. We will not be quarantining for any outdoor activities, and indoor. If close contact indoors, we continue with the COVID notifications that are being sent home.
Great. So one parent wants to know, so what happens if a parent sends their kid to school with COVID-like symptoms?
If a student is at school and they're not feeling well, they can go up to the nurse's office, and after the nurse assesses them and determines that they may have COVID-19 symptoms, they will be sent home and recommended to go get tested, and will be on isolation until they get cleared to return to school.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Again, we have a question about the testing. I know you probably covered this from before. Will schools be testing students for COVID before sending them home if they exhibit mild symptoms?
We will not be testing at every school. Our COVID clinic cottages are open and available for students to test if they are displaying symptoms. So those 4 locations are available to any VUSD student, but we will not be testing specifically at every single school site.
And again, those COVID cottages, they're located at our 4 comprehensive high schools?
Yes, all 4 comprehensive.
Great, thank you. And then my next question, or should we still be keeping kids home if they have mild symptoms? Mild meaning, let's say, a runny nose or cough, no fever. They want to know, should kids still be sent home with those mild symptoms?
If your student has symptoms consistent with COVID-19, we do ask that you keep your student at home and recommend testing. If they have allergies or other conditions that have similar symptoms, we ask that you assess whether these symptoms are their norm or if they are new.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tiffany. So if a child comes to school with a cough, will they need to wear a mask?
We ask that students with any active infection, not just COVID, but also flu, strep throat, or any other cold virus, stay home and get tested. Return to school when you're feeling better and COVID-19 negative. Some symptoms like coughing do linger. So wearing a mask is not required, but we ask that you follow standard hygiene practices such as washing your hands frequently, covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze.
Very good. Thank you, Tiffany. And one more question. What will be the protocols if a student is absent due to showing symptoms? Will it be the same, a negative home test, kit results, 10-day quarantine, et cetera?
Yes, if students have possible COVID-19 symptoms, stay home and get tested. You may return to school with a negative test or when symptoms have improved.
Okay, very good. I'm going to move on to USD staff questions, and I'm going to refer to Kevin for these questions. So Kevin, I have a parent ask, how will you protect the staff who request to do a Zoom meeting, for example, like for PLC or for a staff meeting or for like professional development?
Thank you, Kim. That's a great question. So in any scenario where a staff member may have a concern or they feel that there's a potential workplace accommodation need that arises, these staff members may always reach out to HRD and we'll work with them on a case-by-case scenario.
Very good. Thank you. Another question from our staff. If the end of the mask requirement occurs for students, will the staff of USD still be required to wear a mask? Still, get tested every week and possibly be vaccinated?
So I'll break this down into kind of three different answers. So
Okay.
Governor Newsom recently signed Executive Order N522, which aligns Cal OSHA's ETS with CDPH's current guidance that just came out. Therefore, masks will not be required, but strongly are recommended in all VOSD facilities. At this time, we will continue diagnostic testing for staff members who have not completed their vaccination or may be considered incomplete in the vaccination process. And that's part of the state public health officer order that came out on August 11th, 2021. And then lastly, vaccination status remains at the discretion of our employees and what they feel is best for them and their safety.
Great job, Kevin. I know that was a three-part answer to that question. It was a big one, but I really appreciate you covering it very thoroughly. It's good information to know. I got one more for you. Actually, I have two more for you. If a staff member contracts COVID-19 from school, will they not be forced to use their sick days?
So my recommendation for this, if any staff member experiences this scenario, their best option will be to reach out to HRD's benefits teams and they'll support them with their leave options in that time as they make that decision what they need to do moving forward.
Thank you. And then one last one. When will the testing for unvaccinated staff end? And I believe you covered that, but could you please let us know again?
So at this time, we don't have any updates on testing guidance changing, but we'll continue to monitor both Cal OSHA and CDPH as they continue to relate to our staff members.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. I am going to now, I have one last question. And although our Q&A is really related to our mask mandates, we did have a few questions come in regarding the vaccine mandate. And so, Mr. Cardoza, if you don't mind, I'm just going to direct this question to you. What is the current status of the vaccine mandate for next school year?
So currently, there is no vaccine mandate for current year or the following year. There's been statements made by our governor, but there's absolutely no mandate at this point. So nothing to worry about at this point.
Good to know. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cardoza, for sharing that information. So I just want to let everyone know this concludes our question and answer session for this evening. We will continue to provide information to our families, students, and staff as it becomes available to us. This session is recorded, and you'll be able to watch it on the Visalia Unified School District YouTube channel. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to our panelists and for joining me this evening. It was great that you took your time out to answer these important questions that came through. And I also want to thank our parents and staff for submitting the questions for tonight's panel. It's very valuable information that we needed to share with our community, and we really appreciate your participation. So good evening.